Welcome to Life Mastery Radio with Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey, the show that dives into the science of higher consciousness with inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. Join Todd, Jackie, and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. It's all right here with stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Now, here's your hosts, Todd and Jackie.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and it's really groovy today because we haven't done a live show for 2 weeks, and now we are live. Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
We're live. We're doing a show.
We didn't mean to take a 2-week break, but technology kind of worked out that way, didn't it?
But, I want to remind our listeners that Life Mastery Radio is on YouTube. So if we don't have a live show cooking, there's lots of shows on our YouTube channel that you can go and check out. Check it out today. Life Mastery Radio. Tell a friend about it. We would love to have you on. As always, I have my co-host with me today. Wait a sec. Life Mastery Radio is the talk show that brings you great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. And I already told you it's a groovy day, and that's because I make it that way. And most of you know why that is. So you could do it too. Make it a groovy day. I'll tell you that at the end of the show too. We have a wonderful guest today. We're talking about, what are we talking about? We're talking about depression and how to get over it, right? Is that conceited? Is that too much? Is that too far out of line, Jackie?
I don't know. I used to have a saying, a friend of mine made me a teddy bear. It was like a Care Bear. And it said, the only way out is through. So that leads me to believe that depression isn't something we can get rid of. It's something that we manage and work through. But that's my opinion. We'll have to ask our guest what she thinks.
Yeah, we've got a really cool guest. But first, I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.net or .com, whichever one you prefer. And any links that we talk about, I know our guest has some pretty cool programs coming up, and they're pretty inexpensive. So you're going to want to go there and check those links out so you don't have to worry about writing them down during the show. But she does some amazing work. I guarantee you, listeners out there, see me? I see you on my ICU2 TV set, but you are going to be blown away by the information we are going to present to you today. Now, I want to hear from Jackie about the Speak Feed Lead project. Anything going on in Jackie's world? She's done some pretty cool stuff here in the last couple of weeks. Hi, Jackie.
Yeah, I traveled to Phoenix, Arizona. I attended my 40+1 high school reunion, met up with a lot of old friends and made some new friends. And then I was part of a speaker competition where I met a lot of inspiring young and older people who had wonderful messages to share with the world. And I wanted to be a good example to my students that no matter how old you get, you keep speaking. Whenever someone hands you a mic, you take it and you give your message. And then I got to hear 9 of my students who spoke on 2 summits last week, 2 global summits, and even from my hotel room in Phoenix, was able to support them in doing that. And it's just so amazing. They come out of those experiences feeling so much more empowered, and they just feel better about themselves. I mean, it truly increases their self-worth to know that someone registered to hear their message on a summit and they tune in. They can't always see their audience because the way sometimes a seminar is set up in a Zoom meeting, but they know they're there because they can see their comments in the chat and we can read them for them.
Does any really cool feedback come to mind? Did you get any great feedback? Did you see any comments that you were blown away by?
Oh, well, for the students, yeah, of course. I mean, everyone is impressed with their ability to eloquently share their message. We had our youngest student was 11. And then our oldest student for this particular occasion was 16. And the whole range, I mean, the 11-year-old student talked about how she survived the pandemic in ways that she learned to better take care of her own health. And she gave some terrific suggestions to be grateful for your water and to actually state your gratitude for the food that you eat before you eat it. That was pretty cool from an 11-year-old girl. She talked about going outside and enjoying the fresh air and enjoying nature and being grateful for that, and how to fill our brains with positive content and to do things that only bring us joy. I mean, this is an 11-year-old girl, and she was not prompted at any of that. She came up with that on her own. The 16-year-old student, the oldest student we had, she talked about how she's developing an app to help as a resource for her fellow high school students. I didn't realize how prevalent sexual assault is in high school. And it affected a friend of hers. And this student had no place to go. The school didn't protect her from the person who assaulted her. It was another student. And so she's developing an app for high school students to have resources to turn to when things like that happen to them. So these are brilliant young people who are already changing the world in so many ways. And so for them to be able to speak in front of an audience is beyond awesome for them. And I'm so glad to be part of that. Absolutely.
If you have a youngster in your life, a young human, I guess a young human, and you think that they could excel, everybody can excel in this. It's fascinating. Get a hold of Jackie. Google Jackie Bailey. You find her anywhere, or go to the speakfeedlead.org project.
JackieBailey360.com. You can find everything you want about me right there.
Connect with her and connect your young human to opening the door that will last them the rest of your life. And now I just saw something. You have a program coming up of preparing students for college. Was that right?
I do. Yeah. Actually, next Monday, I'm on a summit that is helping kids prepare for college. It's speaking on your way to college with the perfect essay or something like that. Now I can't remember what it is, or speaking your way to college. And so it's a summit for college prep. So middle school to high school kids, and those who are also already in college. And so I'm going to be giving a presentation on how you speak your way to college, not only to create the perfect college essay or the college video, but how do you stand on a stage, maybe if it's in a classroom, but how do you stand and own your stage and speak your truth no matter what? So yeah, that'll be fun.
Just think about that, the power that you instill in a kid. It's like the secret sauce and some magic that you instill in a kid in order for them, and then they carry that with them the rest of their life. It's just fascinating.
Once you feel powerful, you never go back. Once you have the knowledge of how you can feel powerful, it's really hard to deny that in yourself.
That's true. You and I both know that. I think our guest knows that too. And I think we're done with housekeeping and cleaning. And I know for a fact this is your guest. You brought this person into Life Mastery Radio. Take it away, Jackie.
Anna and I are good friends now, and I've actually been on her show as well. So let me introduce you to her, because it's going to be a fun day. We're going to be laughing a lot, and I think my abs are going to be sore after we finish this hour together. Anna is a premier life strategist who specializes in helping teenagers and adults to build strong and supportive family relationships. What makes her unique is that she combines a teacher, psychologist, and parent experience with her anti-depression expertise. Her philosophy is simple: master the game of life, so you will never be trapped in pain and hurt again. And when she works with teens, and she teaches the teens and their parents how to help their kids master the game of life as well. She is the host of True Secrets of Life radio show, and she's got a lot of things cooking that we're going to hear about today. So please welcome Ana Lennyr. It's great to have you with us. Yay!
Thank you, Todd.
And where are you
Thank
joining us
you,
from?
Jackie.
Somewhere in the Midwest? Where are
Yeah, Dubai. I'm just kidding. It's Chicago.
you? Nice.
It's a whole Midwestern, Mid-Eastern Dubai.
That's
This is
right.
like my son says, Mom, is like Dubai in your house. I'm like, it's okay. It's Chicago.
So
And you
I'm
hail
just-
originally from Romania, though, right?
Yes.
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 Awesome.
That was a long time ago. Another
lifetime.
stage of suffering, if you will.
Oh.
You know, I'm just fascinated by your message, Anna, and I listened to some podcasts that you did with some other hosts, and I was just blown away by your system and what you got cooking. So I think before we get going on that though, you talked about some amazing things with depression and how it resides in the liver. And so maybe just define for us your definition of what depression is. What is it?
Depression is deep, heavy, and unresolved emotional wounding.
Hmm.
And
That's simple, right? It's that
yes,
simple.
yeah. And in this definition, I already told you how to get out of it, actually. So it's deep, heavy, and unresolved. So we gotta find it, retrieve it. Okay. We have to fix it. We have to remove these emotional wounds, and we have to rebuild. Okay.
And there's
Because yeah, there are 5 of them, and each one has its own way of being rebuilt. Okay, so you're not going to find one similar to another. This is why everybody thinks that, like, oh my God, my pain is different. Like, no, you can have 5 pains. It's just different levels of it. Okay, and if you have all 5, you're suicidal. Okay, you have 3, you're depressed. You have 2, specific 2, you are having anxiety, right? So here is, everybody believes that their suffering is different, not understanding that their suffering is the same as the others. In everything we talk about, the stories are very similar. The suffering is very similar, but you have to find it, and you have to know how to find it. You have to fix it, not manage it, not ignoring it, not cope with it. None of this, because it's coming back. It always resurfaces like a volcano. It's like a volcano. It's dormant for a while, and when you wake up, oh, why did my husband left me? Why are my kids not listening to me? Why do I have this disease? Why I'm not happy? And sometimes you wake up at the age of 70 with these issues, okay? Because you haven't fixed it. You had a whole lifetime of fixing it. You ignored it. You keep yourself busy. You found other ways of, I'm going to just take a meds because I have a headache. I'm just going to keep busy at work. I'm just going to stay single because I'm afraid to date and have somebody in my life. So these were coping, managing pains that we put in different compartments, but sooner or later it comes up.
So tell us about your story then. How did you discover this? I'm guessing it's because of your own experience.
Yeah. So I and my son, we are the only people in our family left. Everybody else died from conditions linked to depression.
Wow.
We're just the only ones left. And I suffered from it for 27 years of my life before I realized that I just put my kid in depression. Just by me suffering, he was trying to save me. And by trying to save me, by the age of 8.5, he was already in depression. And I said, that's it. That's done with my family. It's done with me. I cannot risk this for my child. So I went and looked for help from categories of people who were never depressed. And right now, if I have to ask you, what categories of people were never depressed? What you gonna tell me?
Monks.
Monks.
Aha. Monks that have nothing. They have self-mastery. Right? And if you look at life, we're only responsible for us and how we self-master ourselves. we're not responsible for anything else. And if we self-master ourselves in a right way, so do our children, because what do? Copy paste.
Yeah, they
Copy paste. They imitate, right? I had somebody coming to me and said, oh my God, my kid is verbally abusing me. I'm like, who verbally abused you? My husband. You never fixed that problem. You never solved that issue, and your child copy pastes it.
Wow.
Do you see why you cannot not fix problems? They're coming back. And sometimes they're coming back really hard to hurt you, because it's different when somebody your age that you got rid of because you divorced, they verbally abused you, but now it's your kid that you're raising. Now it's more pain involved in it. And I said, you had to fix it. Like, what do you mean? It's like, stop going with a child and complaining about it, and learn about relationships. Learn about how do you need to grow, so your child will never dare in front of you to say something.
Right.
Okay. How do you boss up on this? How do you gain back the respect that you lost in front of everybody? Right. So here is, you have to fix these problems, specifically the ones that are linked to depression, because they're not going anywhere. They're going to hurt someone somewhere. When I deal with suicidal teenagers, I ask, who was suicidal in the family? It was always somebody. It was the brother, the cousin, 3 generations ago. Like, how did you fix that problem? What do you mean? How did you fix it? Because it's coming back. Until you don't fix it, it will not go away. Think about it as negative energy that you don't know how to turn it into positive. And you just throw it around, up and right and left and right. And it's coming towards you sooner or later. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just negative energy. It cannot disappear. You cannot evaporate it. You can only transmute it. Learn the lesson, turn it all around, okay, and turn it into positive energy. Otherwise, you're wondering why everybody's toxic. Everybody has problems, everybody has issues, because we don't fix them. We just take a pill or talk to somebody to relieve ourselves for 5 minutes. We want instant gratification, and we don't actually fix the problem.
Yeah, I was just gonna, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it sounds to me like what you're saying, though, is the fix is not from an outside source.
No.
The fix has to come from in here, because when you were talking about mastering your life, out here is working against you to master things. It has to come from inside to master you. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So let me just give you an example. Okay. I was abandoned by my father. Abandonment has a specific set of issues, including anger, and it hurts the liver automatically. So everything hormonal in your body is going to have an issue. Okay. You have problems of authority, you have problems of disobedience, and you're very loud, exactly like I am. Okay. You have my body type of regular fighter. Okay. I'm ready to fight. Why? Because if I'm in your face, you cannot abandon me. It's unconscious, right? So I was abandoned by my father. And one of the issues that my mom had was she was an alcoholic. She died at 55 overnight. And part of me, without wanting to, unconsciously blamed my father, right? Because he abandoned me and he abandoned her, and I couldn't change her and I couldn't save her. And maybe if he would have been there, maybe I could have, right? So one of my mentors at some point, he brought me in and said, okay, I want you to imagine that you are your father and you are coming home and you're very happy and everything is just perfect at work. You just got a raise and everything, and you're coming home happy. And when you open the door, you see your mother and she smells. What does she smells of? Alcohol. What would you do? I would leave. What you can do. You're not going to beat up somebody because they're not an alcoholic, right? So here is understanding that all these issues that sometimes we feel as their own, the abandonment by the father, right? The unconscious effect that has on you. Man, somebody had to live a better life. They couldn't change my mother. I couldn't change her. She couldn't change herself because she didn't have guidance. She didn't have coaches. She didn't have mentors at that time. There were none of these. Okay? None of these things existed, right? But that doesn't mean that I cannot, that I didn't ask for help, right? Exactly from what you mentioned, Shaolin monks and Himalayan yogi masters who have actually techniques to let go of a pain in your heart.
Hmm.
And let's talk about that pain. This is a deep pain, and it's a pain that you might even not know it's residing there, but yet it is affecting your vibration, your energy. It is residing in you without
So
you.
let me tell you, Todd, how you find out it resides there. When you have problems in your relationships, when you have divorces, when you have health issues at the age of 38, like I did, when you have a child depressed, when you cannot find your true potential, when you're working 80 hours a week on a job. Why? When everybody else works 40 and they're totally fine, why do you have to work 80 and be always exhausted, right? So that's why I say it needs to be fixed, because it resurfaces in a way or another, and it destroys you from within, destroys you. Plus you're intoxicating everybody around. Right? But the first person it destroys you. And you cannot expect people to save you, like get a partner and the partner should save me, or my child should save me, or you cannot expect these kind of things, right? People come to me and said, nobody understands me. I'm like, you're right. They do not understand why you don't get out of depression.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. But they should understand me. If they understand you, that means they suffer with you. Do you want everybody to suffer with you? No. Good. That's good. They don't understand you. Right? But what is the first thing we do when we go somewhere to a therapist, or even if you come to me, I want you to understand me. I'm like, I know, but do you want to fix it? Because understanding is not going to do anything.
Right.
So talking over to someone about your feelings, that's not going to fix it. Is that what you're saying? No,
that's not going to fix it. It's going to be a temporary relief, but you still have a problem when you go home by yourself. It's the same problem you have. Nobody can fix your problem. And this is one of the reasons why, I don't fix people. I show them how to fix themselves. Because I cannot fix you. I'm not going to do woo-woo magic on you, turn around, then clap. And this is not going to work. I'm sorry, okay? They do meditation to cope with it. They do cognitive behavior therapy. You don't even imagine how many things they try to do to cope with it and to manage it and to just moving into a different compartment. Like, did you get rid of it? No. Well, that's what you need to do. And it's a system, because you can't just get rid of it and expect to be just happy all of a sudden. Because you see, the heart is a magnet. If it magnetized pain for years, that's all it knows to magnetize. We need to change its polarity.
Right.
So you're getting rid of a pain. But then before we're getting rid of it, we need to change everything. All your perceiving things about life. You need to relearn how to live, not how to suffer. So when it's empty, it doesn't magnetize pain again. And that's the secret, because I have seen it numbers of times with my mentors. Is like, oh my God, I solve one problem and I have another. And they're like, you didn't do the first part of a program. And they're like, yeah, I skipped that. Go back and redo it all. Because it doesn't work like that. We're just taking it out. It's built with memory.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
It's built with memory from generations.
I went through a similar process, Anna, with Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yes.
I was an alcoholic, and I tried 3 times to get sober, and it didn't work. And finally, the 4th time, I said, okay, I got to do I got to do the steps. This is how people are getting fixed, right? This is how people are getting fixed, and doing those steps as they're suggested went inside me and fixed things. It actually fixed things. And I can imagine that's what your program is doing too.
Yes, but first we need to relearn how to live.
Yeah.
Because all we know is know how to suffer, right? So there is unconscious blame, there is unconscious guilt, there is unconscious shame. Okay. A lot of times, not even talking about betrayal, you give betrayal to yourself, staying in a toxic relationship. Forget about the other person that betrayed you. You give yourself heartbreak just staying in a toxic relationship. Okay. You heartbroken your child because your child doesn't know who to love, mommy or daddy. You split their heart in two when they should love both. Right? So here is, you first need to learn how to live. It's not woo-woo taking a meds and talking about 2 hours, and it's realizations over realizations over realizations. Then we remove the pain. And sometimes we need to double down on it because the pain can be generational.
Yeah.
So how do you learn how to live? How do you learn? What does that process look like?
So that process is in 3 steps. It's really cool and it's simple. It looks simple, except that I don't know why kids get it in 5 minutes and adults take it over 6 weeks to swallow a 3-hour course.
We have more to erase. We have more to erase.
I made it 3.5 hours so nobody will complain about the size of a course. But they don't have time to get out of depression, because that's the first thing of it, the first excuse I get. I don't have time to get out of depression. Like, no problem. I made the videos between 5 and 10 minutes on your lunch break while you're sitting on a toilet. You can watch the video.
Anna, is it that simple? Is it really that simple?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it takes 3 steps to learn how to relive. Master relationships, master your emotions, and be aware of your mindset traps. There's 17 mindset traps that keeps people in suffering. By the moment you catch them, you can never slip in them.
Once you identify them, then it's automatic.
Sometimes it's as easy as, I want to save somebody. We call that the mini Jesus trap. Okay. So the only person you can save is you and your child. You cannot save your mommy. You cannot save your spouse. Because if you're trying to save them, you disrespect them. They have to make their own choices in life. And one of the choices in life is to suffer. And that's okay. Because they're not ready to end their suffering. And that's okay. Right? They're going to be a lesson to others if they're not a lesson to themselves. Right? But here you cannot disrespect people, especially in your family. Listen, you want to suffer? I'm sorry. I just don't want to suffer with you. That's it. I have that choice too. Right? And other times it's just like using the word try, or using I cannot. I hear that a lot. I cannot get out of depression. Why? People did it before you. And let's say that nobody did it before you. And you're the first. You can be the first in anything.
Right.
Okay.
These are traps. These are traps that sometimes we don't realize, right? And that's why sometimes it's better to go through this level of healing by yourself. And by the time you're coming back into the family setting, you catch things. Because otherwise you go with your daily life and you get lost in it. Right? You get lost. It's like, I'm angry. Why are you angry? My son the other day, he was angry at me and I knew it and I was busy. And I'm coming to him and I said, why are you angry at me? And he's like, how do you know I was angry? Listen, I know you were angry. Will you tell me why? The moment he realized that, oh, I shouldn't be angry at mommy because mommy is on Zoom and she's filming a TV show and that anger dissipated in him. I'm not angry anymore, Mom. Okay, just simple awareness.
Right.
Okay, but don't let it drag with days and months because it piles up. And the moment it piles up, it explodes at some point for some minor things. And we parents specifically, because we have work, because we have life, because we have kids, everything, right? It's when we explode on our children and we're sorry about it. Right?
So it sounds like we need to eradicate blame, because blame is a good excuse for many of us to not be able to achieve or whatever, is because we can easily blame
Or resentment.
Yes, Jackie,
yeah,
but
kind of the same thing.
But you have to understand that guilt is also a big one. Okay. So
Right.
many parents, they have to accept that this depression of their child, and my youngest client was 6 years old. We got him out in 3 months. Talking about dying since the age of 4. You have to understand that because we don't fix these problems, they accelerate now. But children want the key of life, to be happy. They don't want to wait. They don't want to suffer like us. We were good in suffering mode for years. They're not. Okay? We were like, oh, it's okay. We got to suffer. They're not. No. Tell me the shortcut. Why this doesn't work. Right? So we have to understand that. And part of the work that I do with a parent is like, okay, your child is depressed. This happened on your watch. I know you feel guilty, but doesn't solve anything at this moment in life. We got to fix it. Right? And shame is hidden. And actually, shame is the basis of anxiety.
That's interesting.
Shame and perfectionism. And perfectionism is imagine that's the door that hides that shame. No, I'm not going to go down that path because I know I can't just, be a victim in the world. So I'm hiding it. And these two in combination, shame and perfectionism, give you anxiety. The body cannot take it. Start shaking.
Wow.
Shame is also the basis of all cancers.
Wow, really?
All cancers. Shame on the double from the family is cancer with your sexual organs. Shame with humiliation, pancreatic cancer. Shame with abandonment, liver cancer. Shame with exactly like you were into, you couldn't talk, it would have give you lung cancer.
Wow.
Shame with heartbreak is breast cancer. Okay. Shame with perfectionism and anxiety not fixed, all kind of issues, including brain tumors and strokes. Shame is hidden. It's very hard to identify. We're starting with that. Because I don't care if you have it or not, you don't need it. Okay. Yeah. Everybody says, which one of 5? I don't care if they're only 5. We're not going 1 million. So you good, you stay there and clean it off. Okay. Because you never know when it comes back. We never know when it resurfaces. And now you know what to do. You don't need babysitter Anna. Okay. You did it once, you know exactly how to purge it next time. Simple. It's like you have your own skills now. Well, you are in control of your life.
What is that process then, Anna? How do I dig into shame? How do I find that? How is it take another person to bounce things around with?
It usually takes each one of them takes 1 week to purge. Sometimes depending on the client and what situation it is, we're going to 2 to 3 weeks for each. Yes. So it takes a while. It takes a while because we're resistant. We're very good in taking pain. We're just like bulldozers in the world. And then we collapse mentally, emotionally, physically, through illnesses. We collapse in pieces. Like I was at the age of 38, I was diagnosed with the same disease my mom died from at 55 overnight. So I might have had 1 night to live. I was pre-diabetic. I was pre-NASH, non-alcoholic hepatitis. I had migraines and headaches. I couldn't walk from the couch to the bathroom because I had huge back problems. And I thought this was normal at the age of 38.
Mm.
because I can take it, right? Until I realized that I have a depressed child too. I said, that is not okay. Because I was suicidal at 19. And depression doesn't skip any generations. Suicide doesn't skip any generations. Even if you die, the next generation is going to get it sooner or later if it's not fixed.
Wow.
So it doesn't help anything. And alcoholism, by the way, it skips one generation, and it only skips one generation, not because you can't be a sponge in drinking. You can always be a sponge in drinking, right? But because you saw what happened to that previous generation.
Mm.
But my son never saw what happened to my mom. So he could have been easily an alcoholic, a suicidal, easy. And that's by numbers, psychological numbers. It's not even by, it's not my idea. They have measured that.
Yeah. I was told that an alcoholic affects 8 generations with their attitudes, emotions, and behaviors.
So alcoholics first get depressed before they become alcoholics. Okay,
Right.
so nobody becomes an alcoholic or a drug addict because they're happy. People don't understand that. They think that this just happens overnight. I'm like, no, you really need to be depressed to go towards ways of dealing with that in your own way. And it's not the right way, but you just can solve a problem, right?
Mhm.
So everybody thinks that suicide is different than depression. Alcoholism is different than depression. Like, no, it is not possible, right? Because you're very sad first, and then you try your own coping mechanisms with whatever you can find out there. Some people are addicted to meds all their life. Other people go to therapy after 20 years. They come to me and said, I've been to therapy for 12 years. I'm like, didn't you figure out it doesn't work after 1 year? Why did you go for 12? Okay. I mean, things like that you're all trying to cope, right? We're all trying different ways, but we don't look at, does this work, or I'm just doing this coping thing for nothing, right? And the moment we realize what works and what doesn't, we are responsible. It's not the doctors and other people and whatever they tell you. You're responsible for yourself and taking the actions that work.
So you mentioned shame then as one of those emotions that we need to rid ourselves of. What are some other emotions that cause both physical ailments and deeper depression?
So there is shame, guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Guilt, everybody that you see overweight, they have hidden guilt and hidden embarrassment, and they're people pleasers.
Interesting.
Okay. So guilt is that one. Blame is when it's hidden anger. You cannot just go out there in the world and start screaming at people. Okay, you can't do that. I mean, you're going to scream at your kids and your partner at home, but you're not going to scream at your boss because you're going to get fired, right? So you see all these people with their gallbladder removed in their 40s and 50s, the anger exploded. They had to remove it because otherwise it would have killed them.
Wow.
And the anger is still not gone. It's still there in their body, and it's going to hit the weakest organ next. Okay. Because each one of us has something weaker. For me, for example, it's my liver. For generations, from alcoholism, from abandonment, for me, it's the liver. So I always have to watch it. Right? I always have to watch it. Other people is the brain. Other people is the heart. Betrayal gives you heart attacks after the age of 50. Everybody that went through divorce, if you look after 1 year, they have heart problems and high cholesterol.
Is it because they did the betraying, or they felt betrayed by someone else?
They could be both. You could be betrayed by your parents because they didn't give you the skills of living. They only showed you how to suffer. Okay. You can be betrayed by yourself because you did not step out of a toxic relationship. You stayed in it. Or somebody else could have betrayed you. Right? Could have been any of them. It doesn't matter. The heart doesn't know the difference.
Yeah.
Okay. The heart weakens under the pressure. The heart doesn't know the difference, right? And people who have high cholesterol, the first thing I said, okay, there is anger hidden and there is betrayal, and we need to fix that. What has to do with anything? Everything has to do with it.
That's
Because
what I'm
you see,
saying, people.
because you see, that's the difference between overcoming a condition for a short period of time and returning that condition back, or healing the emotion, then fix the condition and never returning. That's the difference. You hear people that, oh, I have cancer and I had cancer 10 years ago. You probably overcame the emotion of shame and whatever else it was unconsciously, right? But if you didn't, it's coming back in a couple of years. It just gave you more time to fix it. That's all it gave you. You didn't get it. You didn't get it.
It's fascinating.
It's amazing. And it's amazing.
I know it's
how
amazing.
simple it
I'm
is.
blown away. You've totally blown me away to where I'm questionless.
Yeah.
Okay, what? Todd is questionless? Oh my God, Jackie, you have a million questions, right?
Well, yeah. Well, my questions are, because I've been through therapy,
Mm-hmm.
to heal, and I know how painful that was. And yet now I'm starting to think, well, maybe I didn't work through everything. Maybe there's still some residual. So if I start working on these emotions again, am I going to experience that same pain again? Or is there
No, we
is there
don't.
a
We
way
don't
to let go of this without having to return to all the pain?
Yes. So we don't go through the pain because you get re-traumatized. Okay.
Right.
These are all, if you think about it, they're kind of traumas. We call it emotional wounding because, you know, people consider trauma to be rape, right? Or it's something major, right? But they're kind of traumatic. Okay. And, you know, to admit that, you know, you have been carrying maybe shame because your grandmother was raped 80 years ago. Okay. And it's not even your shame, but you still have to fix it because she's dead now and she never fixed it. Right. It's not so easy, right, to admit to yourself consciously and unconsciously of how you're doing. So this is why we let go of it without the pain. Yeah, there is some release, like crying or just, you know, listening to a meditation or journaling what came up for you at that moment, right? So you'll be aware of it, how to change the story now, because it's maybe not even your story. Right? But how to look at life from now, right? But it's also a lot about how do you identify. And we talked in our radio show about how do we identify things. Like, for example, not being able to look in people's eyes. That's a sign of shame.
Interesting.
Okay. Slouching like this, that's a sign of shame. So you can see it in kids out there. The age of 11, 12, 13 in schools, being overweight, it's a sign of guilt, humiliation, or embarrassment. And you're prone to bullying.
Yeah.
The bully is the one angry, but has been abandoned. And now is trying to find ways to never be abandoned. Acting up.
Yeah, by not being ignored. It's impossible to ignore.
Exactly. You cannot ignore them. Right?
Yeah.
You cannot abandon them, right?
Yeah.
So these are unconscious things that you can see from a young adult, and you can fix them before they get to depression, before they get to suicide, before they get to toxic relationships, divorces, illnesses, people in jail because they're angry.
What do stomach aches tell us? Because, you know, a lot of kids will complain of stomach aches.
Anxiety.
What is anxiety?
Which is shame and
perfectionism.
Perfectionist. Yes. They're not meeting the standard, or they're not.
Yes. And a lot of children, because, you know, it was super funny because I was one of the top students at both universities, and it was super funny because my son at some point he refused learning. I mean, he just refused going to school, right? We homeschooled him, but as an idea, just refused. And at some point I didn't understand, is like, why? And for him, it's like, you finished 2 universities with A's and you were still depressed. And he was right. A lot of students that are high performing, they're hiding their depression in their academics.
Interesting.
Because you see, you're looking for these keys of life and you think you're going to find in a book.
Yeah.
You think you're going to find your mind, but you can't find it unless you let go of a pain, because it's there inside you already, but you can't find your true potential. You cannot light up from the inside when there is so much pain covering that light.
Well, does that go along with this thought process that we have? Well, if I only had this, if I find the perfect mate, I will be happy. If I pass,
you put them in depression too. That's what I tell people. You'll put them in depression too.
Yeah. So there's so much that is a precursor. What I hear you saying, Anna, is there's a lot that these emotions that are precursors to depression, and if we aren't aware of how our emotions are affecting us, we can be caught off guard with not only physical ailments, but this depression that happens.
Exactly. And when you said, if only, that's like you find excuses, right? That's another mind trap. As soon as you recognize that, there's like, okay, I don't need a partner to be happy. What do I need to be happy? What relationships do I, mastery I need to learn? What emotional mastery I need to learn?
Again, it goes back to what's inside and not what's being affected by the
Exactly. We only work with one person in the family, and the entire family life is changing.
Right.
Okay. We only work with one person. Like, what's your element? There are 4 elements: water, fire, air, and earth. Okay. Because it's easy for me to explain it in 3 hours, because nobody has time to get out of depression. They have time to suffer for generations.
I'm sorry, I don't have time on my schedule for depression today, but I can suffer. I have time to suffer.
24/7.
But I'll stay up all night worrying about things that have no importance at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I won't turn on a 5-minute video.
Right.
Find out how to get rid of this problem, right? So I call them, water, fire, air, or earth. Which element are you? You're only 1 or 2 of these elements. If you have all 4, you'll never suffer. How do you learn to master all 4?
One at a time.
Yes, but you take your strength for what the ones you have already. That's your fuel of life. That's your north on the compass, right? You take that and then you let go of what it's not okay, because it's not okay to be a victim if you're a water, and it's not okay to only want sex if you're a fire, and it's not okay to abandon people just because you can as an air, because it's easy to abandon people when you're an air. Okay. And it's not okay to just stay at home and care about only home and family and put yourself into cocoons, right? Where you can't open your mind to anything else if you're an earth, right? So it's, you take what's not okay and you master everything else that's okay, right? But there are only 4 types of men, 4 types of women. You're one of those types. Your child is one of those types. You need to know what they want, how they think, and how they love before they open their mouth. Otherwise, you're going to betray yourself in heartbreaks.
So are we always one of those types, and it's consistent with that type? We never change?
You can only master 4 totally. You're 1 or 2. Like, for example, I am fire and I am air. And for me, it was quite complicated to master earth. I was pushed by it when I had my kid, right? Because I never knew how to plant a tomato in my life. And now I have a huge garden. So, I never had a pet in my life because I was afraid of dogs that they bite. And I have all kind of pets and 3 little kittens now because we're cat keeper, right? So it's usually easier to include the 3rd one It is harder to include the fourth one. That's the most challenging for me. For example, water is the most challenging for me. Okay. But I know that. And I make efforts to master it. Why? Because I don't want to be unhappy. And that's where love is, by the way, in the water element. So why would I even ignore it? Unless I want to be unhappy, right? So these things we're teaching to people before they remove their pain, so they know where they stand and what they need to do. How to live, not how to suffer. Because there is no fun in suffering, trust me.
Makes a lot of people sick, huh?
Yeah, yeah, or destroys lives.
Yeah, or
It's very
others.
easy to destroy lives. How many people we don't see alcoholics addicted to drugs, and they have children that what do you think is going to happen to them? They're going to get depressed too because they can't help their parents.
Yeah.
And then you're wondering, why do we have generational depression? That's why.
Well, that was what I was thinking about. I mean, we have a whole society, Anna. We have a whole society of people that don't know how to fix it.
Yes, I know. That's why I'm here. And we have automatic programs, and we can take over 200 people a day in it.
So tell us about this. Is the perfect segue then to tell us about your programs. We've got, I think, about 4 minutes left. So tell us about your programs, how they can work with you, how they get in touch with you.
I decide on which program you belong to. Okay. There is nobody else. Okay. I am the girl that makes that decision. So we have a small academy where you're going to get a bunch of tools, especially for anxiety, and the entire formula to get out of depression. The entire formula is there in an hour and 15 minutes for children or for adults. Formula is there. It's yours. I think right now it's $17. Sometimes our team drops it to $0, but usually we don't have it more than $17 because you can have free Zoom calls there with me, and I can put you in the right direction in which program you belong. Because we don't want to put you in programs where you don't need to go. And you don't know what you need anyway. We do. So here is everybody gets separated. You this, you that, you the other. Okay. But just the fact that you have about 29 lessons there, entire courses with exactly the formula. There are 3 sets of exercise for anxiety. They're temporary approaches, but they're good approaches. They're only 10 minutes a day. And you can do, one of them is bypass a panic attack. You can do it in 10 minutes in your car, on the toilet, at your desk in the office. You don't have to suffer. There is no excuses for suffering anymore. Let's say it this way. You know?
How do they find out about this? Where do they go?
Yeah.
TrueSecretsOfLife.com.
Okay.
TrueSecretsOfLife.com. True stands for trust, respect, understanding, and evolving. So TrueSecretsOfLife.com.
Nice.
What Todd is speechless. The question was,
you know, I'm just blown away, Anna, by something that you've created and that is so simple. I mean, basically a person has to do the work.
yes,
but you take them pretty much by the hand down a path that they fix themselves.
yes, and they fixed the next 3 generations, because if they teach this to their children, that's it. There is no more depression for their children.
So that was another question that popped into my mind, and we only have like a couple minutes left, but maybe you can answer this quickly. How receptive are the younger generation?
They're receptive when you show them this by example,
So the
not
parent,
by lecturing.
the parent,
Yes.
it's leadership by example. So the parent does it, and then
Yes.
the children follow along.
Yes. Children only copy paste. Like, for example, my son right now, he's 15. If I tell him anything about depression or he reads a post, it does not compute with him anymore.
Right.
He doesn't understand it anymore. Period.
Fascinating. I am blown away. I hope you'll come back on the show, Anna. I think there is so much more. I can visually see gears just cranking in Jackie's mind.
Well, at least you think I have a mind. That's good.
know all
I
my
love you guys.
went out my ears. That's where all my gears went. They went right out my ears.
Yes, and never manage pain. Heal it.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Love it.
Thanks again, Anna, for showing up. That's about all we have time for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you'll tell a friend about the show. And lastly, please, please, please make it a great day, because it is all about choice. And choose to fix yourself. You know where to go. Bye-bye.
Bye for now, everybody.
Love you guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Life Mastery Radio. Join Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery through stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Visit their website, www.lifemasteryradio.com. Join their mailing list and be notified about upcoming guests. That's lifemasteryradio.com.